Welcome to the Grit Wit Podcast, hosted by Maury Wood. He's got stories, sarcasm, and a soft spot for real life and dad jokes. Around here, grit builds character, wit keeps you sane. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Grit and Wit Podcast. I'm your host, Maury Wood. Today is episode 6. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July. I'm sure a lot of you celebrated like we did, watching and listening to fireworks until late in the evening. Our neighborhood was gorgeous and loud and overwhelming at times. Luckily, our dog did not freak out or anything, so that's always a good thing. Today's topic is about a time I taught myself how to learn to ride a bicycle. And I taught my brother as well in the same manner. And just the lessons and things I've learned and tried to take into my adulthood. I got a bike from my parents when I was around 9 or 10. We lived in the country, like I said, so there was a lot of places for me to ride around. It was a bike. It was a Huffy. It had a banana seat, which was good for little brothers because they could ride with me. And it was maroon and it had like skulls on the side. They tried to make it look as cool as they could for a banana seat bike in the mid to late 80s. Anyway, I had training wheels, of course, and I was sequestered, I guess you could say, to my backyard. You all those of you who have ridden bikes before, you can't really go that fast with training wheels because they kind of mess up if you lean to one side or the other, it slows you down and whatnot. So I decided I was tired of the training wheels. So I went into our garage and got my daddy's ratchet set, took my training wheels off, and I proceeded to the barn lot on our farm. The barn lot, we called it the barn lot. We also called it the bull lot, which don't really know why we called it the bull lot because there were never cows in that lot. There were only horses. But the barn lot was gravel. It had a couple of gravel roads that joined, and we used them. But a lot of it was grass and old firewood, things like that. Big rocks, little rocks. So I took the bike to the top of the hill in the barn lot that was against our garage, one of the sheds slash garage. Those of you who lived on a farm, barns are multi-purpose. So I took the bike up to the top of the hill and I was facing our barn where we kept all the hay and stuff. It was at the bottom of the hill. So I told myself, logic says, if I can push myself off of this hill on this bike and pedal at the bottom of it, then I would be able to learn to ride my bike. So I pushed the bike to the top of the hill. I got on the bike. Then I gave myself a little pep talk. I told myself, you have got to keep pedaling when you get to the bottom of this hill, no matter what, or you're going to wreck in gravel. And I'm sure I was wearing shorts at the time, so that would not have been a very great bike wreck. Or running into the barn at breakneck speed for a 10 or 9-year-old would not be fun either. So I did it. I got to the bottom of the hill. I kept pedaling and I maybe fell down once, and then I would get up, take it to the top of the hill again, and do the same thing again. After a few times, I kind of learned the mechanics of pushing off and getting a good start and things like that. And before you knew it, in an afternoon, I was riding my bike. I was really proud to show my mom, and I could basically ride anywhere on our farm from that point forward. So fast forward a few years later, of course, my middle brother, Sean, wanted to learn to ride a bike with the freedom of no training wheels. So I did what any good big brother did. I taught him the way that I learned. We took the training wheels off he had a cool bike. It was like a BMX, black and red. It looked like a guy's bike. My bike was a guy's bike, but I digress. So we took his bike to the top of the hill, and I took the training wheels off, put him on the bike, and I told him the same thing I had told myself a couple of years earlier. when you get to the bottom of the hill, you've got to keep pedaling or you're going to wreck. So we did the same thing. He maybe fell once or twice. After that, he had learned to ride his bike. That's a hard lesson, I think, to teach yourself, but also it's a lesson that I remember because I did teach myself. So the question might be, what did that hill teach me? One, it taught me initiative, which I still have to this day. I think initiative is probably one of my best qualities professionally. Also, it can be a detriment because I'm a button pusher and ask questions later, but I take initiative. I'm usually the one that says, hey, let's try this. I don't like waiting. I don't like sitting still. I like making decisions. And I hate to say making decisions and seeing what happens, but I do like taking initiative and doing that. I always tell my son that lack of leadership can create a vacuum sometimes. And I believe if a good leader does not fill that vacuum, sometimes a bad leader will. So if you feel like you are called to be a leader, by all means, take the initiative and fill that void. Because I think that that's a great thing. And it's also a great responsibility. Speaking of which, great segue. Number two, I learned was responsibility. When you learn something valuable, you have to pass it on. I mean, granted, I might not have learned the best way to ride my bike, but my brother came to the person who he looked at was, okay, he's learned to ride his bike. Maybe he can teach me. And I taught Sean how to ride his bike. And we rode all over the place. We'd go to my grandmother's house. She had a paved driveway in a circle, which was in the country, was like driving. It was awesome driving on that instead of the gravel roads that we had at our house. But when you have something, knowledge, wisdom, I do feel it is your responsibility to pass those lessons on. I tried my best to teach my kids how to ride a bike a little bit safer and easier, I think. But my two daughters, they did exactly what I did. They did not like the fact that I was holding onto their seat behind them while they were going. So they asked me how I learned, and I told them I went up on a hill and pushed off, and I told myself I had to keep pedaling. So that's what they did. They went to the neighbor's house that's right next door to us that has a little bit of a hill and an incline, and they put their bikes on the top of the hill and pushed themselves down. And now both of my daughters can ride bikes great. The third lesson I learned was, ironically, that with the title of this podcast and my blog, was grit. Uh, Bumpy hills can lead to smoother rides if you keep trying. There's a lot of things we are going to go through in our lives that we honestly just have to teach ourselves. We might not have those around us who know. We might not have those around us to ask. But with grit, I believe those lessons you teach yourself are lessons you're not as likely to forget. I look at it as from my faith, sometimes I learn lessons the hard way instead of praying about it or seeking God's guidance or asking my wife what she thinks. And I think a lot of times grit can be good because it teaches you lessons, but also you do need to be willing to, I tell my kids all the time, to learn from other people's mistakes. I would not teach every kid how to ride a bike like I learned to ride a bike. You just have to take the person in the environment that they're in and maybe adjust. My brothers and I grew up on a farm, so that was the environment we were used to, and we were a little bit tougher, falling down and scrapes and picking ourselves back up. I could tell you so many stories, war stories, I guess you could say, about ways we got hurt, and we just kept getting back up because that was the environment that we grew up in. Um, as far as a fatherhood connection, how I think about this as a dad, I want my kids to be brave enough to take the training wheels off and put themselves out there. The world is not forgiving a lot of times when we mess up. So I feel as though when I took those training wheels off myself and I went to the barn lot by myself, when I messed up, no one else saw me mess up. No one else was out in the barn lot watching me. I knew I wasn't going to get hurt really bad, so I wasn't putting myself in danger. But I think a lot of times when we are working on something or trying something, taking those training wheels off and learning on our own, it gives us wisdom so that when we are in situations in front of people, that it's easier to show them successes, and you can also be vulnerable in a way to where you can tell them, hey, this is what I did when no one was looking, and this is how I made myself better. um, Also, you have to help others up the hill. I want my kids to look for people that need help around them. I constantly tell them it's my Sunday school class says it about me. My people at work say it about me. My mantra is I can only control myself. And that's a positive thing because I want to be the one that helps others up the hill. I want to look for the people who are needing help and help them. I also try my best to, as hard as it is sometimes, to keep my mouth shut when I see somebody struggling, because especially with my kids, I want them to figure it out on their own. I want them to maybe get their wheels turning in their head and be like, oh, this is how this works, or oh, this is what I need to do. I think, like I said, I keep going back to it. The lessons you teach yourself are going to be the ones that stick the most. And that is would be the thing that I want to tell my kids lastly is the lessons that you teach yourself last the longest. They are the ones that 9 times out of 10 are going to be the lessons that you teach your kids. Also, as a parent, I try to tell my kids, this is what happened when I was your age. You don't want to do this. I think one of the best things we can do as parents is help our kids avoid issues that we might have went through. Maybe you are at the top of your own hill. And I know it is scary. I remember when I was at the top of the barn lot and I was telling myself, if I fall in this gravel, it's going to hurt. And then I had to go tell my mama what I did. I would much rather have went and rode the bike to the house and told my mama, hey, look what I can do. I can ride a bike, rather than pushing my bike to the house bloody and being like, mama, I took the training wheels off and I had a wreck. That would have made me look lesser. So that was one thing. If you can help someone else go down their hill, give them a push, cheer them on. I don't remember if I cheered on my brother, but I'm sure I said great job or that a boy or something, because at that moment I was proud to help him go down that hill and learn how to ride a bike. Which brings me to something else. Helping someone out with something can lead to them helping you out later when you need help. Great example. We were riding bikes at my grandmother's house, and there was a bunch of sticker bushes. I don't know what you call them from your neck of the woods, but they were not thistles, but they were little things that if you stepped on them, it was going to hurt. Well, I thought I could ride my bike through these sticker bushes with no shoes on and get through the sticker bushes and be okay. Well, I didn't. I got stuck halfway through, and it was either fall into the sticker bushes or step on the sticker bushes. So I stepped on them. I yelled for help. Sean was riding nearby, and he came over in his tennis shoes and got off his bike, walked onto the sticker bushes, helped push me out while I kept my feet on the pedals. He helped me because walking out of those bushes would have been a whole lot more painful. So sometimes the best way forward is just to start pedaling. You're going to fall, but it's the old joke about falling off a bike. You just get back on and you learn your lesson and that you get better and better. You never forget how to ride a bike. I will be 48 in a couple of months. And whenever my wife and I, when we went to Ireland, we got to check bikes out of the recreation center of the hotel we were staying at. I had a blast riding bikes around the grounds of the hotel we were staying at. If I'd have never pushed myself off of that hill, I wouldn't have got to enjoy that. And I'd have missed out on a great experience. With that being said, in closing, I challenge you to look around you and to find that hill that you might need to push your proverbial bike to and push off and see what happens at the bottom. Yes, you might fall, but all you got to do is get back up and push yourself back up to the top of the hill and try it again. And once you do learn how to get through whatever it is that you're struggling with right now, pass that lesson on to someone else. So if this resonated with you, I'd appreciate it if you would share it with a friend, a sibling, a fellow parent. Please go to Substack, gritandwit.substack.com, and subscribe to my blogs. So if you subscribe to this on YouTube or iTunes or iHeart or Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, you are going to get different material than if you go to Substack and you can read those blogs. So life's too short to wait at the top of the hill. Remember that. This has been the Grit and Wit Podcast. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next time. Thanks a lot.
This was the Grit and Wit Podcast, hosted by my dad, Maury Wood. Follow the show or share it, please, or he'll make us clean the garage.
What?
Bye.